Michelle, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good to
I
see
should I turn?
you. Yeah.
How are you?
Okay.
How's that?
Perfect.
Much
How's
better. How's it going, man?
Can't complain, getting through this day, this year. Happy we're almost at the holiday season. What about yourself?
I feel grateful to have made it thus far. Today was nuts. To be perfectly honest with you, today was nuts. I feel like I am disappointing people constantly. That's not my job. You know what I mean? And it's solely based on deliveries and deadlines and people canceling. And I mean, it's COVID. I mean, even things that we paid for rush deliveries for. I'm having to call my clients and say that install that we're doing before Christmas might not be quite as effective. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
still, I'm holding out for happy endings, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. We've seen so many changes, and I would love to, as we get into the conversation here about like how everything this year has impacted your industry and then particularly your business, because in some ways, I mean, everyone's doing things to their homes because we're here all the time, and in other ways, just like you described, so much of that impacts how projects get done and out of supply chain are all over the place, deliveries are all over the place, particularly this year. So can't wait to kind of have the discussion. So thank you for joining us.
I'm glad to be here. Listen, a friend of mine told me about the platform, and I immediately followed. I started scrolling. I was like, "Oh, this is dope." And I've had great interactions with everybody on your team, so I was looking forward to tonight. This is the highlight of my day.
Highlight of mine too. I just got out of a day full of meetings, so it's conversation. You shout out to Eric and Dane, who I know you have worked with and talked to previously. So I'm
Yes.
able to get this together. Hi everybody. My name is Aaron Campbell. I'm the fashion editor at QG, and today we are really blessed to have a very special guest, Michel Smith Boyd, who is the founder of Smith Boyd Interiors, which he founded in 2006. He started as a one-man show and has now grown into a boutique firm that specializes in luxury residential and commercial projects nationwide. He's been featured in several major magazines, Vogue, Elle Decor, Architectural Digest, among others. He's also been regularly featured on shows such as HGTV's House Hunters, and in 2018 started his own show called Buy and Get Blind, which was on Bravo. So can't wait to hear about that experience.
Oh, man.
Uh, as you can hear from his impressive, he is an expert in this space. So a lot about his career, how he got started, how he grew his business, and since we are in the holiday season, how he can help some of us who may be spending the holidays a little differently this year, maybe alone or with smaller groups of people, how we can still spruce up our places and entertain and make the most of it. So we are really excited to jump into the conversation and really excited to speak with you today. Thank you so much again for joining us.
I'm gonna take this down a second. Don't mind me. I'm on the floor. I'm gonna do the interview from the floor. Here we go. All right. Listen, honestly, every time you like, don't you get weirded out when you hear your resume when people, it's like that's oh yeah, I forgot about that or I did that or oh that's old or whatever. It's kind of weird because I always feel like there's so much more to do. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dang, how am I gonna get it all done? But it's just always weird to hear that stuff.
Yeah, I feel you. It's so funny. I was at brunch with a few people earlier on Sunday, and they were talking about, oh, so and so do this, so and so do this, or you do this, and it's like I don't even. I'm always thinking about the next thing. Um,
Absolutely.
I feel you on that. But to that point, we always kind of see and hear people's resumes and know what they've done or see them on TV in your case, but don't know a lot of the times kind of the process that it took for them to get to that place, particularly in a space like interior design, where frankly there are not a lot of Black people or Black men specifically. So would
Right.
love to hear about your background and how you got started, where you're from, how you got started, and what got you.
I'm gonna give you the abbreviated version. I am from like a town is this big, Thibodaux, Louisiana, and I always knew that I needed to get the hell out of there to figure out who I was and discover who I was. I swear to you, not 30 minutes ago, I had this conversation with my mom, telling her about doing inner child work and therapy and figuring out things about, it's crazy. I just had this conversation with my mom. But I'm from a small town, and honestly, that kind of foundation, I think it served me really well for the industry that I'm in because, you know, so much of it is crafting this carefully curated image and, you know, this representative that shows up. So I really appreciate the small town foundation. I moved to Atlanta when I was probably 20, 21. Then I lived in New York for about 12 years, and now I'm back in Atlanta. And I discovered interior design in New York. And I was obsessed with architecture as a kid. I was in the fashion industry, and interior design is a perfect merger between the two worlds. You know, I get to do what I love as a kid and erect buildings, but also am immersed in textiles, my other love, every day.
Awesome, awesome. And so you talked about you know, when I was doing my research, you know, kind of starting your firm with basically just you, and then growing it into, you know, this larger boutique firm. What was that process like? And you know, how has that kind of your growth strategy changed as, you know, the situation of the year has changed? Has it thought about in terms of your growth strategy, or what has that looked like in terms of how you've planned around that?
You know, in the beginning, I didn't know any other way, to tell you the truth. And I was honestly afraid, and I still shudder to think about being responsible for payroll. You know what I mean? Honestly, it's an amazing blessing to actually have someone call me. And I still feel grateful every time that I have an opportunity to make a living at my passion. So the idea of hiring people in the beginning freaked me out. I needed the help, but you know, I was a one-man show for as long as I possibly could. But at this point now, obviously, I hire from my weaknesses, you know, and cut to the evolution to 2020. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I mean, I started branding years ago and building product and stuff like that, just with the intent of giving something back to the community that's given me so much. You know, interior design has allowed me the opportunity to really do something big and really create a legacy and build something. So, you know, the products and all that is how I give back. But this year, even flipping it a little bit into like more influencer style posts and jobs and brand ambassadorships and so forth, it's been interesting because I didn't know what was going to happen. You know, I'm in a luxury profession, so I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to survive, much less pay my team. Turns out though that this is the busiest year ever for every interior designer I know. I have more
Wow.
clients currently than I've ever had at one time in the history of my business.
Oh, awesome,
It's
awesome.
crazy. It's crazy.
That's crazy. I mean, and as we were talking about, I mean, I feel like so many people are stuck in the house or realizing like, hey, like my house isn't functional, and I didn't know that because I was here.
Yeah.
Um, a booming time for, I can see how it's a booming time for the business, and also for you to be able to have an influence. People are probably leaning on you more for your expertise because they realize I did this myself, and I don't know, or I did not know. Kind of to that point, I mean, you mentioned about building a legacy and all the different projects you work on. Aside from, you know, your interior design business, you have a rug line, you know, have a kitchen cabinet line, you have all these different, you have paintings that one could buy in Neiman Marcus. Um, I'm assuming there's a thread that goes through all of those different projects that represents your aesthetic. How would you describe that? Like, why do people come to you? What is your style?
Here's the thing. I think if you're calling yourself an artist, if you're a creative, you've got to have a point of view or what is the point, right? And so my point of view has to come across in every collaboration. And I love the idea of the collaborations, but unless I can see myself in it, it's probably not a good fit, right? Um, so I the thread is just really my point of view and just my experience, my black experience, my southern experience, my male, gay, all that experience, all those things that I've seen and that's influenced me, all that shows up in all of my work. And that's honestly the only thread because Aaron, there's no rhyme or reason to how or what order these things took place. It's the strangest thing. I never thought that I would start with rug collections, you know what I mean? And in spring, I'll be launching the fourth rug collection with Z Gallery,
Oh,
that which
that's
was unexpected. You know what I mean? Completely unexpected. So this year has yielded like crazy manifestations, but it's also been tough too. It's just like really pivoting, and everybody I know in every profession, I mean, is specializing in just that, pivoting this year. Um, yeah, the thread is just me, man. That's it. Just my point of view.
So speaking of that, I mean, you mentioned that a lot of your colleagues in the field have had booming businesses this year. Not all of them have been on television, or showcase their work to a larger audience. So can you talk
Right.
about how did you get connected to HGTV and then ultimately, get looped into Bravo to where you had your own show or you started your own show? What was that process like and what was that experience like?
Honestly, I think I've been preparing for that since I started. And I'll be honest, I'm seriously, like, I feel like I've been prepared for that since the beginning. And for everything you've seen me on, 10 to 12 things didn't work. You know what I mean? Before the
Mm.
Bravo show, there were probably 10 projects that didn't get off the ground, or 10 things I said no to. I was like, I can't do competition shows. Somebody's going home first. Doesn't mean they're not talented, just mean their ass is going home. But and then, I was just trying to figure out what was the right thing for me, what was going to get me closer to that goal, or to that brand, that Martha Stewart-esque brand, that Philippe Stark, that Tom Ford, all those guys that I admire, even B. Smith. Like, how do I get closer to that? And the Bravo show felt right, and
Yep.
it felt like my audience, because the Bravo audience is a little sexier, a little moodier, a little more edgy, da 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 da, right? But to be perfectly honest, in hindsight, that particular show, that brand of show, didn't really belong on that network. That network celebrates something a little bit different than home renovation shows. It's about big personalities and conflict.
Mm.
And so, that said, I feel like my home is somewhere else, and it's coming. Like, seriously, like, I got the ink pen in my hand. I'm about to sign something I'm so excited about, honestly. But there's a new vehicle that is mine, that's in the works. I'm so excited about it. But it's just that evolution. And honestly, I just recently let go of trying to rush everything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to rush to get to there. It's going to happen the way it's supposed to. And um, I'm just trying to focus more on being present in the present.
Yeah.
It's how it goes. Like, you see yourself in print or in an editorial, and you're like, oh shit, that's something I did months ago or a year ago, and we're celebrating it now, and I'm on to the next thing. But and I hadn't been celebrating, but it's cool to experience that too, and really appreciate, like, even like listening to that bio. You know what I mean? Like, appreciate what you've done and where you've come from.
Can you give us any hints on what's coming or is it super hush?
No, no, no. It's a new television project, and it's actually HGTV. And I guess that's where I was supposed to land to begin with. We went from network to network, from Netflix to HBO Max to there were so many, and this felt right, and I felt the best about it, and I have the most freedom here, and it's the biggest opportunity. We don't see brown men on HGTV. You just don't. So I'm excited about the opportunity, and I'm representing, all of us. So I'm excited about that.
So if you need a volunteer to redo someone's house, I
Do you know how often I hear that?
highly would. But you mentioned something about the and having big personalities and conflict and that kind of being representative of what different networks might be about and it
Yeah.
all see that in shows whether it be competition cooking shows or competition home design shows. And it makes you wonder how much of this is what actually happens between a client and an interior designer in your case, or how much of this is fictionalized. Were there major differences in how you were working with clients or how you worked with clients on TV versus off TV?
Bro, you do not have, let me not say that. Uh, Personality is a big plus on television, right? And being authentic and actually being vulnerable on television is fantastic. I'm those things. I'm not a buffoon. You know what I mean? And trying to ride that line. Like my whole life is a balance. I mean, we balance in the budget, we balance in these rooms, but on television, you're really balancing between meeting the audience, pleasing the network, and also representing yourself. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And I don't have to watch like this, like, oh shit, did I actually do that? Did I sell my soul for this thing? It's crazy. It's a whole other world, but there's also no medium around. There's still nothing bigger than television in establishing yourself as an expert and a brand. It's just not. And I accept. You know what I mean? Luckily, I've had some amazing vehicles to give me the opportunity to show off a little bit.
Awesome. Well, switching gears a bit, but speaking on where you could show off, give us some tips. We're going into the holiday season. We're actually in the midst of the holiday season now. One that none of us have ever seen before. A lot of us, if not all, celebrating it differently.
Yeah.
Us and many of our followers here at QG are, maybe bachelors or single or unpartnered people, may not be able to travel home for the holidays, but still want to have, a festive, cheery, good time, whether it be alone or with a small group of friends. How would you advise, those of us that have bachelor pads to, spruce up our bachelor, decorate our bachelor pads if we've never done that before or we don't know where to start? What are some advice? What are some pieces of advice you would give us?
Okay, let me just clarify this by saying that I'm advising myself at the same time I'm advising you because I've been in this house for 13 years and I've decorated once for
Oh, wow.
holiday. And I'm doing it this year though. I'm doing it this year because I feel responsible for my own Christmas spirit. I feel responsible for my own morale and just mood. I mean, this year more than ever, it's obvious that we have to get in front of and be intentional about being positive. So I got myself a tree and I decided that the theme of the tree was not going to be traditional. I wanted to take inspiration from the Black is King movie, and
Oh,
the tree is gonna be sick. Like I can't wait. The tree is actually black, but I'm gonna do all these crazy things, and I just feel like I think the first thing we do is create a new tradition for ourselves this year.
yeah.
Pick something, do something. Whether it's baking, I'm obsessed with the British baking show, or whatever. Whether it's decorating a tree, but just really taking responsibility for your own spirit, for your own morale. I think that for me, it'll be the tree. But for a lot of my friends, it's just getting together. If it's just groups of four of us, you know what I
Yep.
mean? And being intentional about celebrating as opposed to looking at the holiday as longer work hours or dealing with more people or whatever, but just like truly getting down to what's important.
Yep.
I know it sounds so Hallmark movie, but that's the kind of year this is.
On your personal decorating plans, because did you say the tree itself was black? Where?
It is. It is. Listen, I would show it to you, but I gotta go live with the tree tomorrow under contract. But it's so dope. It's this company called Treetopia, and they specialize in doing trees in like really specific colors. So you name the color, they've got it. And it's this 9 foot tall black Christmas tree, and I was like, in 2020, bro, like seriously, like what's better than a black Christmas tree? In the year of Black Lives Matter.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing.
And second follow up, if you can share, what elements of Black is King did you take and apply to trees? I'm very curious about this.
Listen, it's the water video. B is in like this pink, and she's got this basket of all these dried flowers and da 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 da. Like that visual was to me the most memorable. That's the one that stuck out the most for me. And so, like, the tree is gonna be full of those, like exactly what's in that basket. It's gonna be incredibly Afrocentric, just like a celebration, just like that film was. So, hopefully the company that hired me to do it will like it. and and hopefully the viewers do too.
And hopefully Beyonce sees it.
And listen, don't even mess with me like that.
But I don't know, how large your space is, but I live in New York and I used to live in Atlanta as well. So I know the difference between space.
Yeah.
York and Atlanta, and many of us live in smaller spaces. Whether you live in a large in a city like New York, where most people live in a small space, or maybe you're just starting out and you don't live in a larger home. How would you advise again people who are working with a condensed space on decorating it for the holidays? What tips do you give your clients or your or people who ask you?
You know, the most powerful tool for nostalgia and mood is scent. And if you don't have space for a tree, even if it's a little Charlie Brown situation, I mean, I think scent is super powerful. If you got a candle that, you know, was reminiscent of pine or, you know, the Christmas spices or apple cider, honestly, it's amazing how scent can lift and change your mood. And just a couple of things, you know, whether it's scent, whether it's candles, but taper, you know, something romantic about a taper candle. Like a hopeless romantic, and I think that's why I'm a designer. But like creating moods and taking responsibility for your mood and recognizing that like your home is the only place in the entire world that you have complete control over what happens. I think,
That's the
you know,
word.
yeah, it's real. And I take that really seriously at my house. Like everything here reflects me. You know some shit about me if you walk through here, and it should be that way with every one of my clients. And I encourage everybody to take control of their spaces like that. But when I was in New York and I had an 800 square foot apartment, which is massive, we had probably a tree on the dining table, and I had I had stuff in the window sills. You know, whether it was just like a wreath sitting there or whatever, as opposed to putting the wreath on the outside of the door. I turned it around so it was on the inside. But honestly, for me, as I don't like clutter, I think it's scent. That's the first thing I would do. I
Yep.
would start with the candle, and I would move from there. I would build from there.
Awesome. You mentioned a dining table, you mentioned candles. You know, a lot of us, aside from decorating, might be having a few people over. Again, very different than us maybe usually going home and having large family gatherings, but we might want to have a little spread. We might want to do a dinner. Maybe some of us are great in the kitchen, some of us aren't. How are you planning to entertain, if you're planning to entertain, and how would you advise our viewers on maybe having something that is COVID compliant, but still fills the spirit with, holiday cheer.
Okay, so I'm gonna be vulnerable again. Like there are three parties that are on the schedule, and they all supposed to happen here. Like, why y'all want to come to my house? I don't know, but
Probably is it decorated the best.
right, I'm like, dang, bro, like this is my safe haven. This is my COVID-free zone. But a friend of mine wants to give me a gift of the chef, right? The couple I'm friends with, and so the chef is coming. The pastry chef is coming. There's a oh God, there's this crazy amazing bartender coming, and I can't let this go not without putting it on my How to Luxury series. So I've got to have a videographer. That's
Yep.
four mofos right there. That's
Yep.
four right there, and I
Yep.
haven't invited anybody. So like trying to figure out how this COVID guideline thing is going to work and make it COVID friendly is going to be real interesting. We've talked about, actually having a rapid test. I think it takes like 3 hours to get the results, same day. There's all kind of plans in place, but I just I don't want to, and I don't want anybody to allow COVID to kill their joy. Just do it, but do it responsibly. I think that we should probably avoid the family style dishes.
Right.
And, everything's lined up and everybody's breathing on top of it. I think I'm going to be really creative about how to individualize everything and make everything feel like, almost from like a hotel point of view, like really boutique. You know what I mean? Like really specific. Here's an opportunity to really love on my friends, and I'm picking five of y'all niggas. Like, oops. You're getting the real Michelle. It's late. I'm picking five of y'all. So, I get to create something really special and personalized for them. And that to me is, it's kind of how you share your gift with your people and love on your chosen family. But like something really individualized and specific to them, and everybody feels special when they walk out, And I think that's how I spread my Christmas spirit, but also have COVID responsible kind of party.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. I think all of us are trying to figure out the best way we can do things and have it be elegant, but also, not crazy.
Right, right, right. And elegant doesn't always equate to expensive, you know?
Right, right. Do you have any tips on how you maybe cut costs certain places? Are there certain things that you do to maybe if you want to spend more money on food or more money in a certain place, how do you go about figuring out where to put the most money or where to kind of budget things? Or do
This No, no, no. I think about it because listen, I always overspend because for me, luxury is experiential, right? I don't know that it is the gift bag you walk away with as much as the experience you have or the memories you make when you're there. So for me, like I want when you hit that door, I want you, I want the scent to hit you.
yeah,
And the first thing I want you to see are fresh flowers. It's Christmas. I want to see some amaryllis. You know what I mean? They last forever. They're a little bit expensive, but they last forever. They last the whole season. Um, and I don't want anybody to have to work when they're with me. So even if I'm making the drinks, I want to have that all decided. You don't have to think it's already here. You just grab a glass. You know what I mean? Or you just pour it because it's there. And I have this thing like that trickle down from Oprah. You know, the favorite things. Like everything that's my favorite, I want my friends to experience. So every time I have people over, I'm exposing them with something that I love, I've just discovered, or I'm in love with, and we can enjoy it together. You know, I just the cost cutting though, honestly, you know that it's more about the camaraderie as opposed to what you're eating. As long as it's good, it doesn't have to be crazy. I've wasted so much money in the past before I really figured this out. You know, like doing things fancy and so forth and so on. Um, you know, a birthday party could be a pizza with a candle in it. I mean, my friends don't care. My friends don't care.
honestly,
It's really just about the vibe we create, and I think that another amazing way to do and create some spirit in the party is like a really curated playlist. I'm
yeah.
still obsessed with the Preacher's Wife soundtrack from Holiday.
Okay.
I pull it out every year like a clown. Like you know, I can't get over it.
Last question on the holiday subject. Do you have to give a parting gift or a gift bag, or is that optional? What, from a professional point of view, from your entertaining point of view, do
I
you?
mean, I don't think so. I don't think so. Unless you just have bags of money, I don't think so. Because, like I said, I mean, every time I start to do that, you know, if it's a company that I'm working with or something like that, absolutely. And if I got it, then cool. But every time I attempt to figure out what do I give, what happens is I start comparing what I'm doing to what someone else did
Right.
and the budget. And like, you know, comparison is definitely the thief of joy. So I don't ever want to be in that space. I'd rather just concentrate everything on what's happening while we're here and you take all that good energy with you. And if I can afford a gift, great. But I never make that a priority, nor do I make it a necessity.
Yeah. And the experience should be a gift in
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah, yeah. Because it's my friends, right? We're not trying to impress them. And I'm not trying to sell them anything by branding something in the bag when they walk out of here. So, you know, it's just like we get to turn off at during this time of year. I know I do. Like that's honestly, I look forward to Christmas because I don't have to be anything for anybody for Christmas. I don't have to be Michel Smith Boyd. I can be Michelle from Thibodeau and, you know, drink good wine and eat cheap pizza. I mean, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. So I want to definitely give you a chance to let us know what you have coming up. You mentioned the show or the project that um, have a fourth rug line coming out. Are there any other things that you have in the work that we should be checking out, that we should be looking forward to in 2021?
This is going to sound incredibly redundant, but it's been going on for like 4 years. I have been trying to release a home fragrance collection for like 4 years, and everybody around me is doing it. I cannot get the mess right, but I think I finally got it, and it should have been ready for Christmas, but I think it's going to be a gift you can give your sweetie for Valentine's Day. So that is going to be huge for me. I'm so excited about that because it's important to me that I own my space. My collections are awesome. The partnerships are awesome, but they are just that, partnerships, i.e., cut commissions.
Yeah.
So for me, like everything that I actually own, I'm really incredibly proud of, and this is something that is important to me. I've been associated with Scent forever, so that's a big deal. The big launch for the spring collection with Z Gallery is going to be a big deal. They have about 30 of my paintings at this point.
Nice.
Like that's a partnership I didn't see coming, and that's something my mama knows about. She's really proud of. You know how your mom doesn't really understand your world. That's something
Yep.
she knows. So I'm happy about that. And the next thing I think will be this new TV show. So stay tuned.
Well, we definitely will be staying tuned. You can't wait for the sin. I feel like most of us will still be in the house in February. So,
I know. Yeah.
but leave with some very tangible, as I know we're running up on time, but I also like to leave with something very tangible for the followers, for the viewers to take away. And you mentioned something in what you were just talking about, partnership and ownership, and the difference between the two, the advantages, the disadvantages. A lot of people have been trying to start a business, build their business, grow their business in this very crazy year. It's made a lot of us do a lot of soul searching about what we really want to do versus what we're doing. What advice, it could be very general, it could be very specific, would you give, Black people, brown people, people of color who are, starting an interior design business, trying to grow their business in this year or in the future? What, piece of advice would you give them as like a takeaway from this?
Um, you know what? I'll give you two. The first thing for me, in my experience, is that you have all these people you idolize in your industry or that you look to are inspired by. And I think it's really important, especially as a creative, to decide what you have to offer, you specifically. And and then two, what you're expecting back,
Mm,
from the industry.
yeah.
And that honestly will really help shape your path and figure out the steps, and you don't have to see them all, but just at least the first couple of steps. You figure out what you want back from this industry, then you're much more clear about what you need to do
Yep.
and get about the business of doing it. And the advice that was given to me by one of my friends that kind of kicked my ass and I still hear on repeat in my head was that losers wait on perfection and winners go at what they have.
Mm. Wow. That's deep. I need that.
Right, right. We all need that.
That's deep, deep. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Michelle. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope we can have you back for a follow-up conversation, maybe about your lines, maybe about how we can spring clean, get our places, right and tight when we can have more people over. Looking and in shape. But thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it, and for you taking the time to talk to our followers today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you guys for tuning in. It was great to meet you, Aaron.
Thanks so much. Pleasure to meet you. Have a good holiday season.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.